Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Rotoworld Football Show. I am Patrick Daugherty, joined Tuesday, December 26th by Mr. Denny Carter, where we are going to break down all the biggest storylines from Week 16. Denny, one of the most elongated weeks in NFL history. We start with a game on Thursday night and 3 games on Monday, where the NFL just had to crush the NBA into oblivion.
Yes.
So
did the NBA play, or did they just not? Did they just not do it?
They canceled the whole Christmas slate.
Yeah.
They canceled. I did see Kevin Durant and Luka Doncic going head to head very, very late Monday night. That was the only game. They started that game at 1:30 a.m. Eastern time.
Wow,
so they didn't want to be competing with the NFL post game shows.
And it's crazy because more people were watching a replay of the Ravens game than were watching the Mavericks game.
Oh, come on, man. We're going to get to TJ Hockenson's injury, Jaylen Waddle's high ankle sprain, the Chiefs' ongoing offensive struggles, Jonathan Taylor's pretty uninspiring return, Joe Flacco cooking, quote unquote, but now facing one of his many revenge games, the New York Jets, on a short week. And this is in Denny's words, the Bills, quote, turning into the Falcons. The Jaguars' struggles, Bijan, so on and so forth. We're not even get to everything today. We have so many topics. First, though, we wanted to give shouts. We wanted to give props to Brock Purdy, Denny.
Yes.
We're not admitting he's good. we're admitting that the man loves the discourse. He's keeping the discourse going. And in the words of one of my tweets last night, it's quite an innovation to oscillate between MVP frontrunner and complete and total fraud. And just what do you want to say about Brock Purdy and his part in furthering the discourse?
Look, as someone whose career is owed to online engagement, I appreciate Brock Purdy making it so that he's either one of the worst quarterbacks in the league or generational in every way. And no one quite knows which one. And there is no in between, by the way. He never performs in between those two extremes. And last night, of course, he looked like he should be the team's third string quarterback. Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold comes in and instantly looks better.
And instantly takes the third down sack.
Oh,
and gets them out of first and goal, where I needed one Christian McCaffrey touchdown to finally make the finals in our long running dynasty league. And guess what happens next?
I'm sorry. I'm sorry to hear that, Pat. But also, Sam Darnold looked pretty darn good, is what I'll say. And so the discourse is lively. We appreciate Brock Purdy for never relenting in his mission to make sure we talk about nothing else online except for Brock Purdy.
And by the way, the discourse is about to get supercharged. Trent Williams dealing with a groin injury. Sounds like he could miss time. The last time that happened, Brock Purdy was a plumber. That was the official NFL definition from Next Gen Stats, by the way. They grade your stats, your advanced stats, and his stats from the 3 games that Trent Williams were out were plumber.
Plumber. It just says plumber, right?
It says plumber on his. They don't put any stats or anything on the page. It just said plumber.
I mean, but we have talked about, on a slightly more serious note, we have talked about the fact that the 49ers are an injuries off team.
Yes.
Where, like the Dolphins, any Shanahan style system
yes.
is the perfect EPA machine as long as every single player is perfectly healthy. As soon as one player is injured, it all tends to go to hell. And so you lose Trent Williams, and now you wonder, can the 49ers, are they even like a Super Bowl competitor at this point without Trent Williams? It's true, but it's true. It's a real question.
You say any player, they're watching the game Monday Night Football. Troy Aikman's like, it looks like Kyle Juszczyk just suffered a very minor ankle sprain there, Joe. Probably not a big deal for the 49ers. We'll see what happens. And they never win another game.
Yeah, right. Right. So it's a very sensitive system. And so Purdy's struggling with 2 stingers in a row.
Yeah, that's bizarre.
It is weird. He was cleared to go back in, but Shanahan said he ain't reading all that.
No.
And he kept Darnold in the game, which, hey, look, does it raise questions? I don't know. Stop. You tell me.
Shanahan was definitely trying to, I don't know if he's an investor in X, but he was definitely trying to generate something by leaving Darnold in the game for no reason.
Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah, I'm sure X had record football engagement last night when Shanahan. I mean, basically, like Purdy came in and was like, "Hey, I'm good to go." By the way, and Shanahan was like, "You're not by my book, kid."
Very much right in front of the ESPN cameras. I will say they get the Commanders for Week 17. So even if Trent Williams is out, they could get right out of Week 18 against the Rams. That's been a weird grudge match. Not weird. Divisional grudge match between McVay and Kyle Shanahan. So they're going to be tested these final 2 weeks with the injuries and the struggles.
Well, if they're playing Jacoby Brissett's Commanders, that's a whole new thing.
This is going to be a whole new ballgame. We might get to that later in the show. We'll look at what's the fallout, Denny, from TJ Hockenson, the biggest injury of the week. So far, the latest update we have is just that it looks not good. By the time you're hearing the show, he could have an official MRI, an official diagnosis. Basically, it does not seem like he's going to be playing for Week 17. I was trying to remember, is he on the Vikings or the Lions?
No, there's no way to know.
Totally merged in my mind. And especially since they're always playing, it's right. Like because he has a revenge game against the Lions in Week 18. At the very least, it does not seem like TJ Hockenson is going to play Week 17 against the Packers. Denny, what is the fallout for this Vikings offense? There's been really, really wild under Nick Mullins. A lot of pass attempts, a lot of dead doves, a lot of yards, though, a lot of touchdowns. What does it mean if TJ Hockenson is out against the Packers?
That throw again from Mullins to end the game was something else.
That was no hyperbole, one of the worst throws I've ever seen in the NFL.
I mean, please tell me it slipped out of his hand. Please. I'm begging someone to confirm. Just please, if a Vikings beat writer is listening to this, can you please say, Nick, tell us that it slipped, because that could not have been a real throw.
Denny, your dad sits you down and is patting your head very softly. 39-year-old Denny Carter, it slipped, son. It slipped. Don't worry.
I'm 40.
It slipped. It slipped. Nick Mullins would never do that on purpose.
I mean, it looked unbelievable. All right, so here's the fallout. So Jordan Addison is struggling with what has been deemed the lowest ankle sprain in Vikings history.
So low, it's not even worth mentioning. I mean, it's normal height.
So if Addison's out and Hawkinson's not going to play this week, so and probably done for the year. If that's happening, then KJ Osborne just becomes like a locked and loaded, like almost probably, I don't know, upwards of 10 target type of guy here. With Addison missing some of that game and then Hockenson missing, Osborne saw 7 targets, caught 5 for 95 yards against the Lions, ran a route on 89% of the dropbacks. And then we have I gotta mention a sicko tight end at Johnny Mundt.
Oh yeah,
MUNDT. This is a real person. I've confirmed it.
I've marked him several times over the years in our CMS.
Yep. Yeah, he's a marker. He came in and ran a good number of routes when Hockenson was out. Saw 3 targets, caught 1 for 23. So you have Johnny Munt season and you have KJ Osborne season. But mostly you have Justin Jefferson getting 20 targets. Against
a really, 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 really bad Joe Barry defense and the Green Bay Packers. Just sparked basically the first actual good game of Bryce Young's career, which we're hoping to get to later in the show as well. And a quick note, there's something to keep an eye on in dynasty leagues. The exact kind of player you should maybe try to get on the cheap is KJ Osborne is heading to free agency. And he's the kind of guy, every time he's been forced to play, he immediately is PPR scamming to high heaven. Kind of like I try to think of analogs in the past, like Emmanuel Sanders. That's over 10 years ago. He never quite got his stats in Pittsburgh, but teams really wanted him when he got to free agency. And I'm not saying KJ Osborne's anywhere near that level. But he's the kind of person you should maybe try to get on the cheap in your dynasty leagues.
There you go.
And this is the kind of show that you should not get on the cheap and listen to in full when we return right after this. This holiday season, get the fantasy fan in your life the exclusive Rotoworld Draft Guide bundle featuring expert analytics, player insights, and season-long tools. Get all 3 of the draft guides for one low price. Go to NBCSports.com/holiday bundle and use promo code HOLIDAY23 at checkout to receive 25% off and a $10 Fanatics gift card. So you mentioned Jaylen Waddle's, you were mentioning Jordan Addison's ankle sprain and how it's so low. They bring out several government officials. They bring out several people from the Mayo Clinic. It is in Minnesota. They sit him on stage. It's kind of awkward. They give him a full medical exam on stage. Jordan Addison, and official after official after official says it's low. I didn't know they could get this low.
Yeah, right.
We have really bad news to the Dolphins where they admit that it's high for Jaylen Waddle.
When a team comes right out and says, yeah, it's a high ankle sprain.
Yeah.
I mean,
is Jaylen Waddle going to play again this year? What's going on with Jaylen Waddle, and what's the fallout for the final 2 games of the season.
My immediate reaction, I'm no doctor, but when a team comes out and immediately just concedes, all right, it's a high ankle sprain, I immediately assume multiple weeks,
Yes.
like many weeks. So my assumption, the way I'm operating, is that Waddle is done for the year. And maybe
kidding aside, my assumption is that like he's really racing to get healthy for the wild card round. Like that week, he's like the person we're blurbing all week in wild card week.
Yeah, right. We have 22 blurbs on him.
Yes.
So excited about that. But with him sidelined last week against the Cowboys, Achane and Cedric Wilson ran more routes. Cedric Wilson is kind of the 1-for-1 replacement as far as like snaps go for Waddle. I think Achane could see more action as far as targets go. He really hasn't been super involved as of late. And then I wanted to mention that Durham Smythe, he's a tight end, saw a season high 5 targets last week against Dallas. He ran 80% of the routes with Waddle out. That's way higher than his usual route rate. So he's it would seem that Durham Smythe would see a little bit of a bump here, but really like Tyreek just dominates to the point where we want someone else to be relevant. Like we want to just dig until we find like the skeleton key. Yes, I found the other Dolphin who can be relevant. It just doesn't happen.
Yeah. So if you survived into the fantasy finals with Jaylen Waddle, there's no plug and play replacement in Miami.
No.
DFS, there's really no one. You're like, we got to jam Braxton Berrios in there. He makes the money work today. There's just no point. I think, like you said, I think it just filters down even more to Tyreek Hill is the real end result, and hopefully Devin Achane.
I think Achane is a beneficiary.
Yeah, he has to be, man, because Devin Achane, it's all caught up with him, hasn't it? He didn't do anything against the Cowboys. I think maybe only had 1 catch against the Cowboys.
He did. Only 2 targets. Mostert is banged up with the knee. He'll probably play, I'm guessing, but Achane is seeing most of the passing down work, the 2-minute drill stuff, and honestly, like Dolphins playing the Ravens, they're not going to be in a position to run the ball. So Achane could be kind of pleasant rather than a guy who you plug in and try to plug your nose and not to actually smell it while you do it.
Yes. Yeah. Wow. You mentioned Raheem Mostert's knee injury, which just reminded me, if I were Taron Armstead, I may not have body weight tackled my own RB1.
That was weird.
That was very weird. He did like the Tony Siragusa. It looked like he was like flopping on him. I guess clearly he had just fallen and couldn't regain his momentum. But I was like, man, you could land a little softer on your RB1 there, Taron.
Right. The guy who's going for the NFL record in touchdowns.
Yes. So that was the Dolphins, they are lucky they got that win because now they're banged up. 2 really, really tough games, the Ravens and Bills to end the season. And the Bills, are like a feral animal trying to clinch this playoff spot. The Dolphins had to win that Cowboys game. It's a shame. They might end up at 11-6, and they've been better than an 11-6 team this year. But happy for them they won that game and don't have to like have any weird like playoff sweat or anything like that. Maybe they wouldn't even had a playoff sweat even if they had lost. But they really needed to win that game. And they did win that game. Who really needs to win a game, do anything positive or fun, Denny, is the Kansas City Chiefs, where the wheels just fell all the way off against the Raiders on Christmas Day. And they've been playing – the Raiders every week have been basically the definition of a tough out under Antonio Pierce. Like, they scored 63 points 2 weeks ago. They've just been playing really, really inspired football. They've been playing like the ultimate interim coach football.
Oh, yeah.
They were playing so hard for this man. I can't believe – I don't think they're going to Rich Bisaccia Antonio Pierce. I think they're going to keep Antonio Pierce here, which it is dangerous because you get that post-firing high from like a tyrant like Josh McDaniels, and you can keep it going for a while. But it's like a lot of times when teams hit on that situation, hit on 17 in that situation, it doesn't turn out well. But we're not here to talk about the Raiders. We're here to talk about the Chiefs. Mahomes, man, Denny, Mahomes has not had more than 2 passing touchdowns since October 22nd. He has rarely appeared to be part of the problem, of course. He didn't look very good against the Raiders yesterday, though. And what is the latest on the Chiefs' offensive struggles? Is Mahomes, I wonder now if he's like, things have curdled enough with his supporting cast, like if he's starting to change his style of play, if he's like pressing
Yes.
And like struggling as a result. What is going on with the Chiefs?
Yeah, so I actually think that you hit it on the head there, is that Mahomes is turned into like Superman mode every single play. And that can't work. Like when there are no easy throws, nothing on time, nothing where he just, drops back 5 steps and steps into one and zips it for 12 yards and a first down. There's none of that. Okay.
No.
It's drops back, scrambles. Everybody's doing their freelance thing. Maybe Kelsey at 34, 35, whatever he is not, quite able to freelance the way that he used to in this offense. And then the rest of the receivers, Rashee Rice is fine, but everybody else is terrible. So I do think that he has entered a mode where he feels like he has to bail out the team every single drop back. And it reminds me of the way that the Bucs exposed Mahomes and the Chiefs in the Super Bowl, in the COVID Super Bowl year, where he had to do that. Like there were no on time plays in that entire game against the Bucs.
He still played phenomenally well.
Yes, he did. Right. And so, but then you get a game like yesterday where the Chiefs were dead last in EPA per play yesterday against the Raiders, as far as in week 16, dead last. That's as of like 2-3 weeks ago, that was unimaginable. As of last year, that was unimaginable for sure. So they're in scramble mode. I would say that they're not a contender at this point. Like they're not. I don't believe that they can get through any of them. They can't get past the Ravens.
I actually do think they're a contender, just solely because they have the two things. They have like the two things that are always an X factor in the playoffs. They have an elite defense, and they do have like a God mode quarterback. Where even though it's been ugly the past few weeks, I mean, is anyone really surprised if Mahomes is just suddenly God mode and like the wild card round, the divisional round? So that's why I really just cannot. Maybe I'm just like a prisoner of the past 5-year Chiefs moment. I just can't rule out the Chiefs, even though it's been so ugly. I feel like if you go in the playoffs with a playmaking quarterback and an elite defense, you are going to have a chance.
But it's just, I struggle to see how the defense can compensate without like some fluky like defensive scores or special team scores.
It would need early turnovers, no doubt about it.
Yeah. Yesterday, the Raiders had a drop back EPA of -0.45, which means that they lost almost half a point every single time they dropped back. And Pat, they won the game easily.
So our guy Brandon Staley is in absolute shambles after Aiden O'Connell generated 63 points and got him fired, and then the next week had a negative EPA.
I mean, like an astoundingly negative EPA, yes. and a league low. I don't. What they did is the Chiefs, they traded Tyreek Hill for defensive strength, and they're very frustrated about it.
Well, and won a Super Bowl.
I know. I don't know what to say about that.
I know. They need their receiver short. Sometimes the obvious analysis is correct. They were receiver short last year and just happened to get away with it. Was very surprised they did not. Yeah, after they didn't get a receiver at the trade deadline last year, it's like, all right, the Chiefs are finally going to get a receiver this offseason. And then they just take another day 2 rookie, and that's like their solution. And it's weird because the day 2 rookie has been way better than the day 2 rookie they took last year and Sky Moore. But I just keep coming back to imagine Adam Thielen on this Chiefs team. Imagine DJ Shark on this Chiefs team.
But really imagine.
I know.
That's what John Lennon was talking about. DJ Shark on the Chiefs.
John Lennon liked to think big. You know what he's really thinking, actually? John Lennon, not making sense. He's not alive. But what John Lennon is actually imagining at this moment is Justin Jefferson on the Chiefs in 2024. Wow. That's what I'm imagining.
Yeah, imagine all the people.
Imagine all the triggered people once the Chiefs get Justin Jefferson. The AFC West would never, ever recover. Denny, I will never, ever recover from Jonathan Taylor coming back and rushing 18 times for only 43 yards. He thankfully did get a touchdown. There was not much doing for Jonathan Taylor in one of the most important games of the year, a really dispiriting loss to Art Smith's Falcons. Colts are hanging around for a playoff because the Texans lost also. The Jaguars lost. They can still make the playoffs, but that aforementioned Raiders defense now is on tap for the Colts in Week 17. What do we tell the people about Jonathan Taylor heading into the fantasy finals? Not kidding, like not trying to say, but most people who had Jonathan Taylor probably are eliminated. What do we say about his prospects? For
here's how I experienced the Jonathan Taylor thing. Okay, first I wrote him up. He was the cover guy for the Funnel Defense Report last week. Okay, because folks, the Falcons are a run funnel. All right, so he has the backfield to himself. I'm hyped. I'm all in DFS. I am in on Taylor. And this is how I experienced it. I'm at a Christmas Eve party, and I'm checking my phone. And I'm like, oh, dang. Jonathan Taylor has 9.5 fantasy points in the first quarter. Let's go.
Yes.
We're going for 40 today. That's what we're doing. And I checked a while later, and he's still at 9.5.
So what you missed. So Denny, he had needed his time off on Christmas Eve was in the early slate. He worked to the late slate. Very thankful you did those 2 games for us. What you missed when you were at the party was even while he was scoring, our Slack chat being like, Taylor stuffed on 1st and goal. Taylor stuffed on 2nd and goal, period. Looks horrible, period. Taylor thankfully gets in on 3rd and goal. So you missed the scene setting.
I see.
We were not hyped by what
it looked good to me. I mean, like I was like, give me another mimosa, man. We're winning this whole thing. I have the Heineke Pitts Taylor correlation. Here we go. And that didn't work.
Santa Claus didn't come, did he?
No, he didn't. He's real though, just so the kids know. But
please,
Jonathan Taylor, he had 18 of 21 running back carries against Atlanta, 2.4 yards per carry. That's not great. 41% route rate, which is also pretty bleak. He split that role with someone named Tyler Goodson, who is a real football player. The good thing, hey, here's something that'll make you feel better, Pat. Jonathan Taylor saw all 3 goal line snaps for the Colts.
hadn't heard that.
So he had the usage was good. No, it really actually wasn't. No, the fact that he's not running like 60 or 70 or 80% of the routes, that stinks, man. That just lops off any sort of PPR upside.
This guy is having his Christian McCaffrey like moment in the wilderness where it's back-to-back years where he just can't stay healthy, and people will justifiably be kind of gun shy next year. But I feel like we still haven't seen anything to suggest that if this guy does stay healthy, like he won't just be an utter dominator. Just get Jonathan Taylor healthy for 2024, please. The fantasy football gods. The fantasy football gods have informed me we have to take a quick break. We will be right back after this. This Sunday night, postseason position is on the line, and another chapter of an NFC North rivalry will be written. Watch as Jordan Love and the Packers travel to Minnesota for a battle of Justin Jefferson and the Vikings. Coverage begins at 7 p.m. Eastern, only on NBC and Peacock. And also, don't forget, find another way to celebrate the holiday season by being a part of Premier League festive fixtures. We're in the midst of a 13-day, 29-match run on NBC, USA, and Peacock. So make sure to check out all the thrilling moments from creative set pieces to scorching shots and amazing saves. It's the gift that keeps on giving. Denny, not a bit. I will be watching a lot of the festive fixtures. Do you know a Premier League team?
Premier League, that includes a team, Barcelona?
No. I mean, it's a little confusing because they are annual Champions League fixtures. The Premier League is
Premier is English.
The English domestic league, yes.
Right. The English team. So that you have teams like London.
London's always in the mix. London is always in the mix.
Teams like that.
So is Birmingham. So is Luton Town. Every once in a while, there's some teams from Wales in there.
All right.
Yes, the Premier League festive.
Did you see pro rugby's coming to the United States?
I didn't actually.
Yeah.
All the trend pieces I see lately are on cricket, which I can attest to. There's been a lot of immigration to America from Pakistan and India over the past few decades, and I see in my town in Missouri, there's a growing Indian population, and every week they have like a big cricket day at one of the local parks, and it's quite the scene. No, I haven't heard about the rugby thing.
Everything I know about, well, I'm thinking about getting into it as a hipster thing. Everything I know about rugby, I've learned from my online buddy Neil Dutton, who works for RotoViz, and also Ben Baby, the Bengals beat writer, who's a big cricket guy. So I appreciate those guys for keeping me up to date, honestly, on cricket.
Neil Dutton, the Liverpudlian fan.
Is that what they're called?
I believe so.
Pudlian,
wow. He's a friend of the show. He's a friend of the site. He's a great guy. Find him on Twitter. You know who else is a great guy? Denny. Joseph Vincent Flacco, for keeping fantasy seasons afloat, for letting me stream him in advance this weekend. He's just a peach. He's a gem. He's really, really been cooking. One of the best starts of his entire career on Christmas Eve. Now he's on a short week. He's facing what's the bird of a different feather, a horse of a different color, and the New York Jets, who, despite all their foibles, remain an elite pass defense. What do we think of Joltin' Joe Flacco for Week 17?
Right. So every waiver wire piece this week, I mean, it should have been 2 weeks ago, honestly, but every waiver wire piece this week is going to say, not ours, by the way, is going to say, you got to get Flacco and you got to start him because he's throwing for 400 yards a game, folks. And so people are going to do that. And they're going to be devastated because this is a horrible, horrible spot. This Browns-Jets game profiles to be hideous for fans.
It does.
Hideous. Okay. So I don't think that you need to start Flacco. Like it's been fun. You've been starting him the last few weeks, whatever. It's time to look elsewhere. That's what I would say about Flacco against the Jets. The Jets are horrifying against horrifyingly effective, I should say, against the pass.
Denny, the initial total for this game is 35.5.
Good grief.
By the way, I've been covering Thursday Night Football all year, but now you have to do it this week.
Oh, I can't wait, folks.
You got to do it. Denny's pitching in on Thursday Night Football this week, and you're going to see a humdinger.
But I am making overtime.
You are? Yeah, you are. Yeah, that's. I'll get back to you on that. Yeah, you're making all your dad's overtime's real, son.
Yeah, oh yeah. Everybody gets it.
Overtime's real. So it is a shame. Should I start Joe Flacco against the New York Jets on Thursday night or Derek Carr? Oh no, I already answered it. I have to start Derek Carr against.
Yeah, you do.
Ugh, man. How do I tell my brother-in-law this?
Yeah, no, yeah, you're gonna have to. Yeah, you guys got to adjust your thinking. Because the Browns have had like a pretty good schedule, but the Jets are another ball game entirely. I will say, okay, all right, I am going to say just this as a caveat. Both the Browns and the Jets run a lot of plays per game. We've talked about that.
Yeah.
If we get, it could still be ugly, but if we get a ton of plays on each side, Flacco could make me look kind of silly here.
I mean, it is weird. He has rocked a few tough matchups too, and his saving grace, like you have pointed out, not that it was a hard observation to make, but just amazingly run heavy since Joe Flacco, pass heavy. Yeah. Since Joe Flacco has taken over under center. I think part of that, just watching the game, I've seen several Browns games in a row. Jerome Ford and Kareem Hunt are just like out of gas.
Yeah, they're not part of the game at all.
No, they're totally out of gas. They both just look like they're dead legged. Like Kareem Hunt, is an aging veteran. He wore down last year. That's why they didn't re-sign him until so late in the offseason. And Jerome Ford has never handled these kind of workloads. He just seems out of gas. So I guess if for some reason you'd have to play Joe Flacco on a super flex or 2 QB. His season low for attempts was Sunday, and it was 42.
Yeah. Okay. Look. I just found something. The best research is done during a podcast.
It's true.
because there's an urgency behind it. Like I gotta check myself in real time, and I just checked myself. And folks, I regret to inform you that the Jets Browns projects to have the most plays of Week 17.
That 35.5 total is very disturbing.
It is. But I mean, you talk about the Browns are I think 12% over their expected dropback rate since Flacco took over, which is crazy. Like 5% over is pass heavy. Okay, 12% is otherworldly. So I guess even if Flacco stinks, I guess he could He could still do 250 and a couple touchdowns, maybe.
Yeah, that's probably that. I think that's what it's a classic adjust your expectations. I don't think the bottom's going to fall all the way out because he's the passing game and the running game. By the way, he's not the literal running game. You want to know Joe Flacco's rushing stats?
Yeah, give it to me.
He has 7 carries for -1 yards.
All right.
His long rush, his game high for rushing is 1.
Only 80s kids will understand what it's like to have to play in the NFL in your late 30s.
Yeah, and then you're late there, and only 80s kids understand what it's like for a quarterback to literally never run the ball.
Right. It never used to happen.
No, it did not happen. It was like John Elway was like an alien freakazoid.
Right.
Any dual threat quarterback in the 90s was like, what is this?
Why doesn't he play the real game? They used to say that. People don't remember. They used to say that about Steve Young.
Elway, real good. I've never seen anyone better at losing the Super Bowl.
Yeah. Oh, he gets to a lot of Super Bowls, but he doesn't seem to be able to win them.
Yeah.
That's curious. Steve Young, when he took over from Montana, I remember one of the criticisms was in a totally different media landscape, obviously. But one of the criticisms was, hey, this 49ers team was meant for a drop back quarterback. He can't be running around gaining 15 yards on the ground. That doesn't work.
He can't be annihilating the Los Angeles Chargers in the Super Bowl, then known as San Diego.
Man, by the way, the CBS crew I'm sorry to call out CBS crew, but they had some doozies about Brock Purdy versus Lamar before Lamar embarrassed Purdy.
So that's not surprising whatsoever. We'll move on. You know what has been surprising is the Bills turning into the Falcons. What's going on with the Bills' offensive approach? Why? It didn't really work. They almost lost to the Chargers on Peacock. It worked really well in Week 15. It seemed like maybe they stuck with it a little too zealously against Los Angeles. They are playing the New England Patriots. I'm assuming they're just going to do it again this week, though, Denny. What is going on with the Bills' offensive approach?
That's exactly right. This approach is not going anywhere. And so we'll get to Stefan Diggs in a second, but the Bills' expected dropback rate over the past 2 weeks is 50%. And by expected, folks say, well, whose expectations? I say, well, my dad's expectations, which you can never meet. But
you've been planning that one.
I've actually used that a few times. But,
you've been planning.
But what it means is game script. Like if they're ahead or behind, it's that sort of calculation. That's the expectation. So 50% expected. Their actual drop back rate, Pat, has been 37% over those 2 games. That is wild, and that effectively destroys fantasy value for Stefan Diggs. I know Gabe Davis just went off, but that came
curious. Steph Diggs just went nuclear for me, Denny, and yet you say they don't pass.
What do you mean he went? You mean Gabe Davis?
Yeah. Sorry, did I say Stefan?
Yeah, you said Steph Diggs. Yeah.
I was thinking about felt like such a sucker for playing Gabe in my Dynasty League semifinals. But I knew the matchup was good, and
it was good. But okay, so everybody basically in this offense now has to get it done on very limited target volume, and so you have Diggs now. People are wondering, can I play him in fantasy championship week? And I think, depending on the construction of your team, I think it's a fair question. I really do.
He will probably have to be in there, if nothing else, as your wide receiver 3. But everything you just said is true, and he's been giga and mega and slumping. Kyle texted me what to say since week 6. And there's no way this run heavy approach is going away against the Patriots. But the Bills are probably dreading this Patriots game so much.
Yeah.
Like they're so close to completing this turnaround. Now they got to play Bill Belichick.
Yeah. And
they had his number a few times, but he's had their number a few. They are not looking forward to playing this game.
Oh, no.
And that they're going to play scared, which they shouldn't. They actually should go pedal to the metal. That's when they have success against the Patriots. It's when they blow them off the field. I think they're going to play right into Bill's hands and try to go super run heavy.
Yeah, no, the Bills are playing not to lose. That's for sure. Like against the Chargers, the whole game plan was, look, we may not win, but we won't lose today. And they almost blew it. Like really, that would have been one of the biggest upsets in my memory.
Yeah, for sure.
And,
They should go pedal to the metal against the Pats, but
they're scared. The Bills are a very scared team. Here's the thing. They weren't scared when they had nothing else to lose, right? And now they have something to lose, so now they're scared again. And that's the way the Eagles are another team. So scared. They're playing so scared. Like,
that's how Sean McDermott has always played, by the way. He's the most tilted coach in the NFL whose name is not Brandon Staley. He coaches so tilted.
Yeah. Oh, no. Yeah. But he is. McDermott, I mean, gosh, you got to think that his time has run out.
It has. They really do need to mix that. He's reached to like his John Fox in Denver moment. Like, they can't waste any more years of this insane window.
And it has been a waste.
Waste is strong. They like win a playoff game every year, but it hasn't been enough. It has not been enough
with Josh Allen. Oh, okay. Well, anyway, yeah, he's done. And the Bills, yeah. So lots of volume for James Cook. I know it didn't exactly work out, but also Josh Allen's still in play because he runs. So
13 rushing touchdowns. Real quick, I mean, Dalton Kincaid. Can you even like look at him on your bench? Like, seriously. People are questioning Stephon Diggs. Dalton Kincaid is the one. Like, man, am I dropping Dalton Kincaid in week 17?
He's not a top 12 option. That's for sure.
No.
Let's see. I mean, you're talking about Dalton Kincaid ran, good grief, ran 12 routes against the Chargers, 12 routes to 11 routes for Dawson Knox. So, folks, I've seen enough. It's Jover for Dalton.
It is Jover. I'm like the tight end 17 or 18. Speaking of Jover, the Jaguars look a little bit worse each passing week. Trevor Lawrence didn't look like he should be playing coming off his concussion in week 15. The Jags, who really, really need to win, who are somehow throwing away the AFC South, they're playing the Panthers this week, who they're 2-13, but it feels like a bad matchup because the Jags running game is so dysfunctional. You have to run to beat the Panthers. Trevor Lawrence's supporting cast is super banged up. I guess they're going to beat the Panthers, but are the Jags looking kind of dead in the water for fantasy?
Dude, they're not beating the Panthers. Let's just be honest about it. They're not beating the Panthers. Stop. Like, this is in the bag for Carolina.
Oh my gosh.
Come on. Jags fans are down horrific. And
they are. They're struggling right now.
And rightfully so. Like, Lawrence shouldn't have played. That was pretty obvious. Now he's really banged up. I know that he's a quick healer, all this stuff, whatever. I don't believe any of that. But he's banged up. The loss of Christian Kirk. I know it sounds funny.
This young man.
It's huge.
It's huge.
Huge loss. He was their most important offensive player besides Lawrence. And when they lost him, I feel like that was kind of the beginning of the end. It felt like when Houston lost Tank Dell. Like, how can this offense do what it's been doing without Tank Dell? It can't. And so I don't know what to say about the Jags. The offense is a disaster. The Panthers defense is sneaky pretty good.
It is. Except against the run, the Jags are 7-point home favorites. Is Travis Etienne going to be like chalk in DFS this week? Or
he will be. And for the first time, we're going to have bad chalk.
We're going to have the Slappies aren't going to get home.
For the first
Kyle Dvorak isn't at 1:07 Eastern. Like, well, the fish get home again on the Slack chat.
Etienne 52-yard touchdown.
Yeah. Well, that's not happening, you're saying.
I trust the Panthers to shut down the
I'm gonna trust the fish this week. You better believe I'm playing Travis Etienne.
Yeah.
I'll be swimming.
I should just shut my mouth sometimes and just play the chalk.
Play the chalk.
I just got to eat it, man. Like with Zamir White yesterday. Just take your cheap running back points and just be quiet about it, Denny.
Man, I just got really FOMO over not doing any of the single game slates on Christmas Day. I didn't have time to make any lineups.
I did so many and they were all bad. So.
Nevertheless. Yeah, man, I don't know. I probably would have had some 49ers stacks. Man,
I faded the Niners and I still got my butt kicked.
I am one of those people. I'm still haunted by that CMC first and goal and not scoring.
Oh man,
I would have won our dynasty semi by 1 point.
Oh,
if he had just scored 1 point. I'd be playing Mr. Michael Clay in the finals. 1 point.
I needed Kittle to catch one pass in order to get to a championship. And then he had that big catch in the first quarter. And I was like, and I'm good.
Yes, man, that was the opposite of my experience. I really wasn't worrying about it too much until like the very end of the game. I allowed my star. Because it didn't look like it was going to come back. And then all of a sudden, I had Ayuk also, and he just started going nuts. I was like,
Yeah.
we're live, folks. And then we got the better quarterback in there, Sam Darnold.
That's what you took the words right out of my mouth.
Sorry. We've been podcasting too much together this season, Denny.
Yeah, really.
Falcons offense, how did it look with Taylor Heineke back under center? Bijan Robinson, season high 7 receptions on a season high 10 targets. What are we seeing from Atlanta? Who they're still in the playoff hunt somehow, 29-10 over the Colts.
Yeah, I mean, you still don't really have Bijan operating as a workhorse, and I know that we said that maybe Arthur Smith would be shamed into that, but it did not happen. I'm actually just looking for the box score real quick.
He was shamed into something. The passing game usage was nuts.
You had Robinson with 12 carries. Tyler Algier had 9, and most of the green zone was the inside of 10 work. Scored that touchdown. For the first time all year, Bijan Robinson Algier was efficient. And also you had Cordarrelle Patterson mixing in for 7 carries. So 29 carries, and Bijan only had 12 of them. Man. So that's not great. But the passing game, like you said, I mean, he ran 31 routes on 34 dropbacks, saw 10 targets. That's crazy. So it was fine, but like Robinson is not ever going to see like 18 carries in these games unless things get really out of control in favor of the Falcons.
There's no counter argument at all. And keeping him, I had him RB 16 or 17 for week 16. I'm going to keep him right in the exact same zone for week 17 against the Chicago Bears. Falcons are road dogs. Well, that might actually set up well for Bijan.
Bears are pretty good have been good against the run.
They've been good against everything. It's quite concerning. Total 37.5. Remember when totals used to never ever be below 40?
I do. It was a long time ago in 2021.
It was that end of the Brady, Breeze, Manning, Phillip Rivers, Ben Roethlisberger era. Like you saw like a 42.5 total. Yikes. Yeah. Not targeting that game.
Now it's like I gotta stack that game.
Now Josh Allen involved in a 40.5 total this week. Like what happened to the game I love?
What happened? The people love it apparently. Let me tell you, the folks on X and Threads, they love a low-scoring game. They do not want long plays. They do not want exciting touchdowns. They want 3 yards in a cloud of dust. This is what I'm told over and over and over again.
What happened to the game? The Giants party to a 41.5 total this week. That's actually shockingly high. The Rams. And we got a lot of topics left. Not a ton of time left, but we'll keep going. Anything interesting from the Steelers with Mason Rudolph under center who fed Mr. George Pickens? George Pickens did a lot of the work.
Yeah.
Also, you said there was a Najee takeover, but it's still a lot of touches for Jaylen Warren, though. What did you see from the Steelers' offense?
So first of all, with the passing game, Pickens led the team with a 23% target share against the Bengals, which is solid, but it only comes out to 6 targets. His average depth of target was close to 18. So the role was not different, and that's still a very volatile, subject to variance kind of role. It worked out. This past week. It's not going to work out most weeks because it's just those kind of targets. There's no layups. There are no layups for George Pickens. I will say, importantly, Deontay Johnson has been more or less phased out of 12 personnel in the Pittsburgh offense. He only played like half of the snaps in 12 personnel against the Bengals. Allen Robinson and Miles Boykin played along with Pickens in those sets. So that's weird. I mean, he only ran 20 routes on 29 dropbacks. That's different than we're used to seeing. So I guess Pickens is the wide receiver 1 and got away with it. But the fact that he's really just not seeing anything intermediate makes me nervous to say, like, you got to just throw him in there no matter what.
Yeah, I know. It does feel like it could go down as one of the ultimate point chasing games of the season. And, George Pickens, there are worse points to chase because he is what you would call a matchup flipper. And so you could go down with the ship, but he could also single-handedly resurrect the Titanic against the Seattle Seahawks, who can be gotten for big plays. Don't be under any illusions of what you're getting with George Pickens.
Yeah, and in the backfield, you have Najee with 19 carries against Cincinnati, Warren with only 8.
He had 5 catches.
Yeah, right. I mean, Warren 6 targets, 5 grabs. Najee did not. It looks like he did not have.
He did not catch a ball, Denny.
So that that is kind of what we expected, I guess, these roles to be. But this whole deal about Warren being the starter again, like Carl Dvorak said, that's a lie.
That was indeed a lie. You know who had far more than 0 grabs was Breece Hall. 12 catches on 16 targets, 15 targets, depending on what your source is. It was against the Commanders. Now it's the short week against this elite Browns defense. The Browns defense hasn't been as elite, I would say. It hasn't been bad, anywhere close to bad. It hasn't been quite as elite as it was early in the season, I would say.
Right.
But still not a good matchup whatsoever for Trevor Siemian and the Jets offense. The Breece thing, is this a one-off, or is this like them just trying to survive with Trevor Siemian under center?
31 combined targets for Breece Hall and Garrett Wilson against Washington. 31.
Should have been the play all year.
It should have.
It was with Garrett, but not with Breece.
This game was weird, man. This game was weird. 90 offensive snaps for the Jets. 90.
Holy
okay.
Lord.
Like, just for context, for folks who are not grinding offensive play volume on a weekly basis, like if a team gets to 70, that's a lot. That's a really good amount. 90 is almost unheard of. So that hence you get just a massive opportunity share for Breece Hall. That's not going to happen again. But the fact that he took over as the only pass catching back, like it was Michael Carter for a little while. Remember that? And then he was kind of splitting it with Dalvin Cook. Couldn't remember his name, but now they have Izzy, the rookie, Israel Abanikanda, as the RB2, as the distant RB2. So I mean, Breece Hall PPR wise is locked in. That he could be real fun. And hey, look, like I said, the Browns' opponents tend to log a lot of offensive snaps. We're not going to see 90, but again, could get to 70, and that would be really good for a guy like Breece Hall, who is going to absorb a lot of the checkdowns.
Just really quick, Dalvin Cook had 2 touches in week 15. He then had 0 in week 16. So it looks like they're getting a look at Izzy Abanikanda for the final few lost games of the season. And Dalvin, man, he might not be on a roster next year. Pretty sad for a guy who is a very, very good NFL. He chewed up and spit out basically by the running back position.
Yeah, I mean the chronic shoulder injuries.
Yeah.
I mean, so I think we're kind of not used to, but we've seen guys last into their 30s in recent years, and so it's just an assumption, everybody's good until they're 35. That's not true. Like, guys fall off a cliff even in their late 20s when they're getting massive workloads like the one Cook got in Minnesota.
You did make an interesting point. It was becoming a truism, like no running back was making it to age 30 anymore. That has changed over the past 5 to 6 years, where some are aging better again, like they used to, but it is still the exception to the rule. Anything to say about the Commanders' offense? We don't know Jacoby Brissett or Sam Howell starting there, or do we? Jacoby Brissett is relieved. Sam Howell back-to-back weeks. We got a C-Rod, quote-unquote, takeover in the backfield. We don't know if B-Rob is coming back this week. There's a lot of moving parts in this Commanders' offense. Anything actionable, Denny Carter?
Right. Well, yeah. You look, Chris Rodriguez saw 10 carries to 9 carries for Antonio Gibson. He did see all 3 carries inside the 10-yard line. So and he's a bigger body back, so they clearly see him as the better short yardage and goal line guy. As long as Brian Robinson stays out, I think Rodriguez has some touchdown. We talked before the game. We said he can get there if he gets 2 touchdowns. He got 2 touchdowns.
He did get 2 touchdowns. We were deciding if I should play C-Rod, Darius Slayton, or Jamison Williams in my final flex spot in my Dynasty League, and I did go C-Rod. And
yeah, that's good.
I'm quite relieved.
Well, I mean, Slayton ended up with a good game, but
he did. He got outpointed though by Mr. Rodriguez.
Oh, okay.
Slayton had 90 yards though. He only had 3 catches, I believe. Did he have a touchdown?
He did. A long touchdown.
Yeah, there were a lot of points on my bench. I'll say
maybe watch the games. I don't
know. I had 3 people on my bench. I had it's a 14-team Dynasty League, and it's 24-man roster. So this is a huge league.
That is.
So the benches can look quite strange, but to say I had a lot of KJ Osborne, Jamarcus Robinson, and Darius Slayton points on my bench.
That is a lot of points. By the way, Jacoby Brissett. I want to say Sam Howell. I want to shout out to Sam Howell for, by almost every measure, becoming the worst quarterback in the NFL
of all time? Question mark.
This season for sure.
It's been crazy.
I mean, he's gone from, in October you were like, okay, yeah, they have their starter, you like their short-term starter, to now they can't possibly have him play next year.
No.
They you got to figure out something, because this guy is maybe a backup, maybe. So anyway, he's terrible.
He's the next Minshew. He is the next Minshew.
He's way worse than Minshew.
He's got to cut down on the turnovers.
That is hugely insulting to Gardner Minshew.
But it's sort of a Minshew trajectory where I feel like he's been totally overexposed as starter. But if he gets like the memo, like, you are a backup, like, if you have to play for us, your goal is to not turn the ball over. Your goal is to attempt 25 passes a game. Maybe he can get on the Minshew, because that is what happened to Minshew before he became one of the best backups in the league.
Jacoby Brissett, 79% completion rate this season, 12.3 adjusted yards per attempt, which is insane. 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. I am going to say ridiculous things about Jacoby Brissett on Thursday's show if he gets the starting nod against the 49ers.
The Jacoby Brissett back-to-back weeks has basically been in real time tweeting, curious that I haven't been playing. When he averages 41 yards per attempt.
He throws the ball to the best players on the team.
He does. Well, yeah, man, what Terry McLaurin he's got to write a book about what happened during his time in Washington. It's been quite a crime. We have one final topic. I don't know if we should let you talk about this one. Someone on our show sheet, this is a very dismissive bullet point on our show sheet. It just says Bryce Young has one good game. Bryce Young has good game once. So why did you put that?
You put that.
I did. He had a good game once. It was against Joe Barry's defense, so it barely even counts, but he did look a lot better. He was operating far quicker. But the arm still did not look good. But he was operating far faster and more decisively. It was the best he had looked all year, unsurprisingly. The eye test matched the box score. But I mean, he's playing the Jags this week, another really bad pass defense. What is the state of the Bryce Young union as we wrap up today's Rotoworld football show?
Clearly the Panthers don't want to be even like a balanced team, ideally, okay, against the Falcons in week 15, they were 19% under their expected dropback rate. Oof. Last week against the Packers, they were 5% under. So they want to establish that they want to remain run heavy. I mean, look, I will say Bryce Young had, in his one good game against Joe Barry, he was 3rd in completion rate over expected. So he did. Look, you got to hand it to him. He had a good game. He had a solid game. And you're not starting him in fantasy, but if he can keep up this sort of play, he keeps Thielen alive as a fantasy option. I guess sort of maybe DJ Chark. DJ Chark, hey, look, 3rd most air yards on the week. We got that going for us.
Yet another DJ Chark revenge game this week, too. He's becoming one of those guys where every team in the league gets a revenge game.
Oh, my goodness.
Against the Jacksonville Jaguars.
You're right.
The absolute bare minimum for Bryce Young. So the first thing you do when you're a good player is have good games and good matchups. Mm-hmm. Bryce Young did have one against the Packers. He has to have one again against the Jaguars. For any momentum heading into this offseason, he has to have a good game against the Jaguars.
And he could. I mean, this Jags defense has slowly collapsed. It's not. I mean, I was afraid to play people against the Jacksonville defense. As of November. So not anymore.
This Jags team is just imploding. This is what a real deal implosion looks like. And there's been a lot of factors, some of them beyond their control with injury, but this is an old-fashioned implosion from the Jaguars. And this division should not have been up for grabs. And they've just been playing so poorly for a month. We were playing very well today. Very good show from Mr. Denny Carter. Going to be a very good article from the regression files heading into the fantasy finals. Hard to believe the fantasy season is ending this week. Mm-hmm. We're going to have it covered from every angle like usual. That includes our Thursday preview show with Mr. Kyle Dvorak. Includes my Thursday rankings. So for Mr. Denny, I'm Mr. Pat. Thank you for listening. Keep enjoying the holidays. We will be back later this week.